We don't avoid pleasure, we choose not to pursue it. You accept pleasure when it happens, but you must remind yourself that the pleasure is temporary. Accepting pleasures is part of life, in the same way that we accept that there will be pains, is exactly the right approach. The reason we practice avoiding pleasures in certain situations is not that pleasure is bad in itself, but only as a means of breaking the common addictions to pleasure. Stimulation, immoderate desires for food, drink, sex, etc. that so many of us have. The rational approach to alcohol is a perfect example of how this works. If you can't drink in moderation, or can't control your appetite for booze, then it's wise not to drink at all. But if you have the self-control to moderate when, where, and how much you consume, and can do so without being led to make bad choices, then there's nothing wrong with enjoying a drink. We don't necessarily go out of our way to avoid pleasures. If they come, and we can enjoy them. Like finding yourself at a fancy dinner and enjoying the food on your plate. It is the pursuit of pleasure that leads to insatiability and unvirtuous actions, like snatching delicious food off our neighbors' plates. That is why you shouldn't value pleasure above other things. Just take the share that is assigned to you and move on. But if you know a certain pleasure is personally too seductive, it's often best to avoid exposure to it altogether. For a beginner, a lot of things are still seductive, so it's advised to restrain yourself to and learn that you don't miss out on anything by doing so. What you put in is what you get out. I'm beginning to recognize if I put a lot of sensual pleasure into the mind, I am only going to get out a lot of agitation, distraction, and a growing sense of dissatisfaction. And the more I put in, the more I'll need to put in. It's also compounded by the fact that the mind seems to be like a resident addict. You get it started just once, and it has the taste for pleasure linger for a long time. Just one taste and the mind seems to create an appetite that lingers. So the problem seems compounded. Imagine you're 20 years old, paying campsites for fake relationships, using hard drugs, losing all your cash on gambling. While you might be in good company here, that's all symptoms of serious sickness. Your head's not on right. Forget about money and focus on that first. Because even if you get all your money back, and millions more, you're still living wrong, where that road won't go anywhere useful. What you need to realize and drill into your every waking moment is that meaningless pleasure is worthless. Porn makes me feel good like I'm winning sexually. Drugs make me feel good like I'm winning happily. Gambling makes me feel good like I'm winning financially. Sex, bliss, money, it's all basic desires. We feel good when we're winning in life. We seek those pleasures to win in life. But you can stimulate them without winning using tricks that are actually losing. Porn doesn't make babies or cook you food. Drugs don't cure the pain, only temporarily mask it. Gambling doesn't produce anything but debt. You're losing. You have an F on your test, but added a line to make it an A. And it felt good for a moment until you see it's meaningless and you're still a failure. The solution is to realize that stimulation and feeling pleasure is worthless if it has no real meaning. Scoring with a chick doesn't count when you pay her. Feeling euphoric doesn't count when it's from a drug. Getting rich doesn't count if you didn't produce anything of value. You've got it twisted. If you can't realize this truth, you'll chase empty stimulants to your death. And nobody will care because you weren't valuable anyways. Do something real. Losing some money doesn't mean anything. I'm down around that much, and it's not depressing at all, because I know what matters. I'm building things, and that money is nothing but some play cash. What I build is what has value, because of its utility in helping people improve their lives in practical ways. I'm not paying for sex or hitting it quick off an app. That's just a distraction. If you want a woman, you work to get the resources to invite her into a real home, where you provide her with serious value. You can get your seconds of orgasm alone, without messing around wasting your time and money chasing cheap tricks. I'm not gambling with anything I can't afford to lose. I don't pretend it's anything but pointless gambling, and don't blame myself when a trade turns red. If I make some gains, I don't pretend it means I'm skilled or valuable. It's just stupid luck and meaningless money. I focus on building true value from the real practical business. If you can't get it straight, at least educate yourself on the likely conclusion. And take steps not to mess that up, because you don't want to scar someone for life and mess them up too. But you should be able to figure this out and realize meaningless pleasure is worthless. The way you know if it's meaningful or not is to pretend there's no pleasure and see if there's any other value. If you couldn't orgasm or feel pleasure from a woman, what use would the whore be? If you couldn't get high, what use would the drugs be? If you don't have any real business needs for lots of money, then what point is it to be rich? Pleasure is only worth something when it means something, when it has true practical utility. Find things you can do to stimulate yourself that way. Like if you clean someone's gutters and they pay you $20, you can feel good about that gain because you did something useful. If you take a girl out and she kisses you because she likes you and you have a future together, you can feel good because that could be your wife. If you exercise every day for months and feel bliss because you're healthy, then that's real. You're not real. You're a cheater, cheating yourself. Recognize true value and chase that, not empty thrills.